The compact crossover segment in Europe started with the launch of Nissan Qashqai. Almost a decade later, sister brand Renault is joining the party with the KADJAR. Renault and Nissan formed an alliance back in 1999. For many years, the two brands avoided competing directly against each other, focusing on what they did best. Nissan had, among others, a pickup truck, an SUV, and a crossover, while Renault had its compact and D-segment models. As of recent, these divides are disappearing because Nissan returned to the compact segment with the Pulsar, and Renault decided to take on the compact crossover segment with the KADJAR. KADJAR takes its name from two joining syllables, KAD and JAR. The first is supposed to sound like a quad bike, and the other like agile or jaillir, which is French for gush out. So it's an agile gushing quad bike. The naming experts at Renault claim that KADJAR sounds exotic and adventurous. Right. Before we get to do any adventures in the KADJAR, let me just tell you that this test example costs around 30,000 euros, which is more or less the same as an equivalently spec'd Nissan Qashqai or KIA Sportage. This KADJAR has a 1.2-litre petrol engine producing 130 horsepower. It's got just about everything except for leather upholstery and all-wheel drive. All-wheel drive is only available with a diesel engine. Renault changed its keyless access philosophy. Despite having this rather elegant device with me, the car no longer locks itself as I leave. I have to close the door myself by pressing a button on the door handle or on the remote. The boot volume is 472 litres, which is more than in a Nissan Qashqai and less than in a Kia Sportage. This double floor also serves as a divider. There are shopping bag hooks and an optional mini spare. The boot cover fits under the floor and there are two straps to hold it in place. Fold the rear seats and you get almost 1500 litres of cargo space. And then you can also fold the front passenger seat to carry longer items. There is decent legroom and headroom in the back. There are also two cup holders in the armrest. There are no air vents, but at least there is a 12-volt socket. Door bins are on the small side, but they will fit a small bottle of water, just like the ones in the front. Now the cockpit looks quite good, but let's start touching things. And you might hear these kind of creaks and squeaks, and this is a new car, and this isn't even the start of the problems that we might have here, because I'm going to turn the car on now, and the infotainment system may or may not work. There's a reason for that, I'll explain. Let's just see if it works. Praise the Lord, it works today. It's not so obvious because sometimes it doesn't, and I have to press the power button to sort of reset it. You have to keep the power button pressed for like 10 or 15 seconds and then it resets the whole system and then it starts working, sort of, because it doesn't work completely. It's the sat-nav, for example, still doesn't work. There is incomplete folder data something. Why is it not working? I contacted Renault about it and they told me this is like not a serious production car yet. This is something they just kind of put together to show to the media, and this is why this doesn't work. Not your best defense, but that's what Renault said. So maybe these creaks and squeaks here and there are also part of this pre-serious production car explanation thing. And it's a shame, because otherwise this is a pretty nice looking interior. I like the dials, they're digital and they're modern. The whole thing looks rather modern and simple. There are just a couple of buttons, the rest is a touch screen. Look, this just sort of flows around and it's so nice. It could have been such a nice car. There are a couple of cup holders here, 2 USB ports, 12-volt socket and 3.5mm jack socket here. there is a double storage here under the armrest. One is very deep, I can put a big bottle of water in there. The other one is smaller and I can store my keys and whatnot here. So this is all very well designed. There is a decent sized glove box, and why? Let's go and see how it drives then. It's not bad for a start because the engine is rather quiet, but it's not particularly fast, and that's even if I turn the eco mode off. No, it doesn't have any oomph, it just sort of goes very gently. So anyway, back to eco mode. Yes, as you can see, I'm being overtaken because I'm going so slow. Back to eco mode, and this eco mode, well, it doesn't help a lot because instead of about 6 liters per 100 kilometers in the combined cycle, which Renault promises, I'm averaging around 8, and this isn't really combined cycle. I've driven the car for maybe like quarter of a time in the city. Most of it was on roads like this, so this car does use a lot of fuel, and it's something you have to get used to, unfortunately. Cool thing is this sort of gamification little branch with leaves that I see here on the display. So basically what it does is if I press the accelerator harder, leaves start disappearing. If I let the accelerator go, the leaves reappear. The same goes for the gearbox. If I don't have the car in the right gear, the leaves will disappear. And what I like about this is that another motorcycle is overtaking because I'm obviously going too slow in this Renault. Anyway, what I like about this is that it gives me instant feedback. In some cars like what was it? I think it was Honda CRZ, depending on where you're from. In that car you had the leaves, or was it the Honda Insight? Yeah, Honda No Life, Insight. So anyway, in that car it would show you the leaves at the end of the day, and I mean, who cares at the end of the day? You want the leaves now to sort of drive more eco, and see, I had 8 and now I have 7.9 liters per 100 kilometers. And that means I'm going way too slow, at least for Poland. The speed limit here is about 90, which means that everybody's going 100, 110. That's normal in Poland. The KADJAR with a 1.2 liter petrol engine can easily travel at motorway speeds, and when it travels at motorway speeds 130, 140 kilometers per hour, it uses about 9 liters per 100 kilometers. But then the wind noise starts to get obtrusive, and there's also some sort of whistling noise around here from the seal. But again, this is not a serious production model yet, so maybe that's why. Right. The gearbox is for the relaxed driver because the throw is rather long, and sometimes finding the right gear might take a while, especially when you're somewhere around 3rd, 4th. That might take a while. And there's this device, the ring, that secures the reverse gear so you don't put it into reverse accidentally. Listen to the sounds it makes. I don't know about you, but I can actually hear the spring inside. The driving position is fine, and there is a lot of adjustment in the steering column and in the seat, so you should be able to get comfortable here. The steering, it's not too fast, it's not too slow, it's okay, but I have a problem with visibility because of the big A-pillars, because of, I don't know, I don't see anything there. You know, there's a big blind spot behind me, and the bonnet is like that, and I have a problem with placing the KADJAR on its lane, within its lane, which is where the safety systems come in. Depending on the spec, this car can be equipped with blind spot monitoring and lane assist system. Now, the lane assist system, it requires the infotainment system to work, and I did have a problem turning it on while recording the Polish version of this review. Now it's on, so now that it's on, I can turn the lane assist system on. Here it is, and this is where two green lines appear on the appear on the screen, and this is why I kept the system off for most of the time, because the noise it makes, oh, it's just annoying, and good news, bad news, it doesn't work. Oh, bloody hell. It just doesn't work when the infotainment system doesn't work. The good thing is that the KADJAR has surprisingly good brakes. Surprisingly good. They bite from the very top, and yeah, that's my camera gear. You don't expect the brakes to be so good in this sort of a car. You expect them to be sort of spongy, and they're very good. So one thing Renault succeeded at are the brakes. Not that it needs very good brakes, because it's not very fast, but good brakes. Although the suspension absorbs single bumps quite well, if there are more imperfections on the road, then it all starts to get a bit loud. This car does make a lot of noises overall. And I'm not only talking about the sort of creaks and squeaks that you get from the elements of this car. I mean, the assembly here is questionable at best. It's a shame, because the KADJAR is reasonably priced, it's sensibly equipped, but if this example is any indication of what to expect, then Renault is just blowing its opportunity to make it big in the compact crossover segment. Sorry, Renault. And another seemingly minor detail I stumbled upon, this time when opening the back door. This is quite pointy and sharp. Now imagine you have a kid who's 5-6 years old, his or her head would be just about here. Plum, 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 plum. You see where this is going. The last time I've seen something like that was in Citroën DS4, which I think is just called DS4 these days. It's got a pointy triangle back door here. The window ends about here, so an adult can pluck his eye out, but an adult is more careful than a kid, and a kid won't notice it until he or she hurts herself on this thing. Really, Renault? Couldn't you just sort of make it nice and round like everybody else? I know sometimes I'm harsh in my judgments about cars, but what am I supposed to tell you about the Renault KADJAR? I mean, how could they forget about all these tiny little minor details? And what do you think about the Renault KADJAR? Let me know in the comments below. Subscribe to my channel, rate and share my videos. You might also like my Instagram profile. You'll find the link in the description below. That's Marek_drives. New episodes every Friday. Thanks for watching. Now I'm going to get rid of this thing, and I'll see you next time.